All right, all right, all right. Just vibes and just vibes and brother. Say something to the people right here. Just vibes. It's gonna be on the Candace Owens thing, but yeah, Ross Seymour, Rastafari. Yes, I.
Yes, sir. Blessings and greetings to everyone in the name of His Majesty Xavier
Yeah,
Karamawi
Haile
Island. Selassie, I
Selassie.
salute you when I say Ja.
Yeah,
Right.
Rastafari. Aye.
Yeah, man, we just there and just vibes in. It's been a while. We got a couple of subjects to touch on, but Candace Owens hot in the sphere right now, and you know, we and the brethren just chatting there about Candace Owens just happened before we get to chat with her. I was listening to you know one of her little podcasts them she was talking about, and you know, finally, instead of chopping down a tree, she was planting a seed. So
Mm.
we kind of like that switch in her work that she doing, because she spent a lot of time chopping down trees, on the wrong side of the field. So so now she planting seeds, so we gonna chop it up, and give a quick one. This gonna be a quick one still, but you know we have to call the shots like we see them, and
Not true. Not
speak
true.
the truth as we see it. Everyone don't have to agree, but just see how we see it to check. And if you see it differently, well, so be it still, respect it, respect to the item same way. Yes, I.
Oh. Candace Owens. Yeah, Candace Owens. Hold on for a moment. Right here, Candace Owens. Yeah. We want to do some current. Hold on for a moment. Let me see where I got some Candace Owens clips right here to share. So yeah, so Candace Owens. Um, yeah, current events, and also speaking about influences, right. We're talking about that influences. You know what I'm saying? And Candace Owens is a influencer. I was speaking about to the brother about the Stephen. Is Stephen A. Smith correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the interview
Stephen.
was Stephen, yeah, Stephen
Yeah,
A. Smith, yeah.
she had an interview there. I thought it was interesting, um, where she was kind of like, I'm not saying defending her position, but um, Stephen A. was basically, bringing some of the hot topics that people who are in favor or share her views, right, or those who oppose, her views, And I had caught a video as well. It's this video here. Let me just show this so when the eye them can, check it out. Let's see right here. It's called Jew Responds, right, to Candace Owens, right? There was this Jew guy that responded. It was only 4 minutes, but it's very interesting. I might have to do something on that right there, right? You can look for this. This is here, showing the people on the screen right there. This I have to say white Jew because of the existing, you know, um, situation, among those who are professedly, you know, Torah observant or of claiming of Jewish or of Judah. We of the tribe of Judah, we the black Jews of the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Just make that connection with how we are, right? Also by that byword, right? We use that byword Jew. Now, I kind of support some of the things he's saying on a certain level in this particular video. It's not about him in the video, right? So you see how Candace is looking right here. You can't see this right now, but I'll send the eye the picture right here, so you can probably find this particular video. But I found it interesting because I just asked my brother, I said, what do you think about Candace Owen? And he was like, yo, that's like, I'm paraphrasing, but like that's interesting because he was just checking out something on Candace Owens as well. So we was speaking a few things, and I was saying, we need to kind of document this right here because I think she's a really, when I say controversial figure, right? It is not to say in any way other than there's a lot of controversy, right, for and against. Even when the brother was coming in with his opening statement, you said something, and I was gonna say, well, you know what I'm saying? But yeah. So Candace Owens, you had opened up. I'm gonna try to regurgitate this a little bit of this right here because you made some very good points. I wanted the people to hear. Including the silent praise one right there. I think that's
Well, let me
unique.
jump in for a second.
Mm.
like I was telling the brother, because when he asked me about, Candace Owens, I kind of laughed within myself. I said, well, that's an interesting thing, that you asked me that right now, because before I linked the brother, I was watching a thing of Candace Owens, because I told him I'd give him a call in about a half an hour, but then I started to watch the Candace Owens thing, and it was a little over half an hour, so I finished watching it and then give him a call, and while we was reasoning, throughout the reasoning, a question come up. And the thing I was watching is like another recent clip of Candace Owens where the basic title is Candace Owens will not support 1948 Israel and defends Kyrie Irving. And we all remember that Kyrie Irving made some statements a few years ago that got him into a lot of hot water with the NBA and the Jewish community, the community, when he didn't say anything that was not true. Everything he said was true and factual of what he actually said. But like they say, when you say anything about that, the Jewish community that they don't like, regardless if it's true or not, they have their talking points which they run to for the defense, and and being anti-Semite is one of them they like to bring up.
And I have to say white Jew community, because they bring up the anti-Semite thing. Go ahead, white Jew.
Yeah, the white Jewish community. The white Jew community. For the state of Israel. And the video I was watching, she was bringing up that conversation that they had with Tucker Carlson and Senator Ted Cruz, when Tucker Carlson basically made Senator Ted Cruz look like an idiot because he's sitting there trying to quote scripture and have no idea what he's talking about, because he's saying that the Bible tells him that he has to defend the state of Israel.
And chapter and verse, you got the chapter.
That's exactly what Tucker Carlson tried to pin him down on. We're we're in the Bible.
Really? Tucker said that?
Yeah,
chapter and verse. Okay, I didn't see that.
He's trying to blow smoke screen up the man. So he basically let him know, well, you're a politician, but you jump into a Christian thing. So as he said, as a Christian, I have all right to to opine on the subject. So he tried to pin him down on this and say that the Bible actually said the state of Israel, because you said nation, but you defending a state. And as a sitting senator, you should have to take allegiance to defend nobody else but your constituency here in America. So that was part of the clip I was watching when she actually, went to the Kyrie Irving part and, speak about the things he said that was factually true and what punishment he had to take for speaking the truth. And in the video, she actually spoke about a book that was written by a white Jewish author back in 30, 40, 50 years ago, whatever it was, that spoke about where the white Jewish community actually came from.
You talking about the 13th tribe? Was that it?
And what the origins and and the origins are and these type of stuff. And he got no pushback on that. The only pushback he got on that was they were saying for us to accomplish what we need to accomplish, we can't have this out here. So the stance that she is taking now is like I tell like the brother earlier. When I first used to listen to Candace Owens back in the day, I wasn't a fan of Candace Owens. I didn't like the woman, to tell you the truth. I don't go and them kind of thing. I listen to Just Vibes enough, so I know I don't go. So I didn't care for the woman, because it seemed to me like she used to try to tear the bandera for the black community and put a bandera in the Jewish community, the white Jewish community. That's how he used to come after me. Like I say, I don't mind that if something in the black community going on that needs to be spoken about and needs to be addressed, that it be addressed. I have no problem with that. It's the way you can't do it in a way where you come off like you working for the other side. And that's the way he used to come after me. It's like I tell the brother earlier, like open rebuke is better than silent praise.
Oh, man.
So if you're going to give open rebuke, we good with that. But don't do it in a way where it come off like, okay, use a tool for them.
That's a good point.
That's the way we're coming off. But now it seems like wherever spat or wherever tete, the two of them get into now that they ain't vibes in with each other no more. It's like they got chest vibes now. It's like she come home and now she defending home. You see that she defending home right now. and exposing them, you know, because in this video I just watched right now, she exposes the 1948 thing. She bring up the 1948 thing and expose it and actually saying who these people is and where they come from and how they decide as a community in such and such year to adopt this type of religion and this type of faith.
Yo, you gotta send me that video, man. You gotta send me that video, like if you can.
Yes, I will send it to you just now.
That's wow.
Yeah, wow. You know, so now, like I tell the Bridget, now I have a favorable view of her. She has my interest now. You know, before, you know, I used to watch her and sometimes I just got to turn it off because she used to get my nerves.
Yeah.
You know, but now she has piqued my interest. You know,
that is interesting.
And sometimes we need these kind of things. You know, it's almost like, you know, don't jump at me for this one, right? Don't jump at me for this one, but this just come to my head, right? She's almost like Paul, you know. Paul was on the other side attacking us.
It makes sense.
You know, attacking us all the time and bam. But when he come on the side and start to work for us now, you know, like bad boy change your ways, Jay's calling you type of vibes, you know. So I appreciate you bringing the fire home, you know. Yeah, true. Bring the fire home, my girl. Bring it home. If you ever hear this, just vibes in here. You know, I see what they bring the fire home, you know, bring it home and burn, you know, and burn a fire for home, you know. Yeah, man.
Yo, right, Seymour, man. Seymour, yo, give thanks. That was almost, that's better than even before. Like how I was able to share what we was reasoning on right there with the people. Because when I heard him say that, and also I think some more coming forward, I said, this is something that it resonated with I, because I've also had the kind of, this is Yadin, Ras Iodonis, you know, Iodonis, you know, Tafari. Yeah, this is Yadin right here. And it's like, it kind of a, you know, people like say love, hate. You know, I don't really use those terms like personally because it's like a kind of double-minded thing, but it is something that people can understand, where you kind of like some things. It's like a like-dislike. Let me say it like that, because it wasn't even strong like the love-hate, but it's like a like-dislike. You know, like on some points I like, you know, I'll say I like. On some points I dislike, but it's not out of a feeling, you know, like, but it's out of like, okay, what are you saying on this point? You know, like when you were speaking about how she was like working for the other side, I collected a few. I came across some Candace Owens, you know, pics, and some of the people are seeing some of the pics and screenshots. And while the brother was speaking, somebody named Gerald Brown. I don't know what year this was, but this is around the George Floyd time. It's like a kind of something from Facebook or something like that, where it's the news, yahoo.com, and it has Candace Owens' picture here, and it says, this coon, right? It says at the top, this coon, ... And then it has a picture of her from back in the days, and it has an article, Trump shares, get this, Trump shares Candace Owens' interview saying, quote, George Floyd was not a good person, end quote, right? And now, this is back, okay, this must be like sometime roughly around the 2020 time, or like before or during the COVID. You remember when the whole, you know, that whole thing was going on. And now, I don't want to get into George Floyd, but I would say, and some of y'all may not like me on this one right here, right? But I agree with that quote right there, right? From what I know, because, you know, we try to do our research, you know what I'm saying? Right? On that particular level. Now, does that mean that somebody, because you say they wasn't a good person, they deserve, you know, to have somebody put their, you know, knee on their neck and everything like that? I would say no. You know what I'm saying? But just the fact, right, concerning George Floyd. So when you were speaking on that, this is something that I would say, okay, for example, I like this, not the fact that they call her a coon, but I could understand why they would call her a coon. But here's the thing I don't understand, that ones don't understand that coon was something that the racists used. You know, possum, coons and possums. You know, like where you go, if you live in the country, there's the coons and the possums, you know what I mean? And, you know, they be shooting them and some people be eating them and all kind of things like that. But that's when she seemed to be on the other side, right? Right? Am I correct? That's when she seemed to be on the other side. 'Cause I think she must have had her conversion or something.
Yeah. After that.
Yeah, during the COVID time and all of that, she must have had a conversion sometime then. In fact, she was critical on the Stephen A. show. In fact, I think they showed a little clip of the Tucker Carlson part where he was reasoning with a senator and it was going back and forth. And he also, Ted Cruz. He also got fired. Thank you. Because sometimes I know some of the people, sometimes their name sticks, sometimes it doesn't, but thank you for reminding me. Ted Cruz. And he also got fired too. And since he got fired, some people say that he's saying more fiery things. You know what I mean? It's like almost like he's been unplugged, so to speak. The whole Matrix thing. He's been unplugged as well. So will we say that Candace Owens has been unplugged, right? On this level, where she's at right now? Because some even say that she's defending even more Israelite, right? More Israelite subject. Not subject, but more Israelite. She's defending Israelite vis-a-vis the state of Israel. And when you was mentioning about the state of Israel, 1948, the video that you saw, as you were speaking about that, I was thinking about how the fact that roughly around that time when Ethiopia was admitted as a member state, right, of the United Nations, and that vote on the partition, of what was called really properly politically for the first time Palestine, right, was divided up, was divvied up and everything, and was supposed to be divided between, the old maps. People will be arguing about that. But when they came up for the vote, Ethiopia, like some countries voted for, others voted against, but Ethiopia abstained. Right? Ethiopia abstained. And this always has been a controversial, even among certain white Jews and others. They might like Ethiopia, might accept the, the original Judeo-Christian and the Israelite connection and testimony of Ethiopia, but they may even love and like His Majesty, but they did not like the fact that he abstained. But the question is, why did Ethiopia abstain? You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying that this is the question for us to answer here, but the fact that Ethiopia did abstain, right? Did not vote yes, like many countries, America and the rest of them, they voted yes, right? Some other countries voted no, but Ethiopia abstained. So when you're speaking about her busting down the whole 1948, the state of Israel, right? Oh, on the point of the state of Israel, we live in the time of the Gentiles now. What's called biblically for the people in the Bible, Candace and others. No doubt you ones have come across this phrase. She might even say this is like Schofield. I like to bust down her point on Schofield, the Schofield Bible and everything, because she made that that's the big villain, the Schofield Bible. And some of y'all know that we actually recommend as a study point of reference the Schofield Bible. I'm not too sure whether she's into replacement theology. I know she's a Christian, and she pushes her, Christian view. It directs her moral as she testifies to, However, I'm not too sure of what sort of Christianity, what I'm saying? Does that matter, bro? Like what form of Christianity that she may be about, because she speaks about Jesus Christ, her Lord, and that's something I agree with in principle. But I'm kind of curious about the Schofield study Bible thing, because I find that there's a lot of people that kind of oppose the Schofield study Bible, and it seems as though those who oppose that will also oppose either the state of Israel, or they will oppose even the Israel vibe. I'm not talking about the white Jewish vibe talking about Israel. I'm talking about just Israel in principle. Some Christians believe that because of Christ and because of what they interpret from the Bible, therefore it's done with Israel, right? Like Israel is over, that Israel now has become the church. You know what I'm saying? So some believe that God chose Israel up to this time, and now after that time, that Israel is a spiritual Israel and that Israel is a church. I'm not too sure if, this is part of her, theological position. But what we do know is on the fact of the state of Israel, she opposes that. And many of us oppose it in principle, but I like to take His Majesty's view, right, where I abstain. I just want to put that on the record right there, just concerning the state of Israel. But I do want to check out the documentary, and the documentary, but it is a kind of a documentary because it's facts and other things she's presenting there. But what she's presenting in that video as well, on Candace Owens. But the part I don't like about Candace Owens, just to say this right here, the part I don't like about not Candace Owens, it's not even about her, but I maybe I don't understand clearly her position, but from what I do, I think there's a contradiction in her politics. But we have to remember that she just was on the other side. You know what I'm saying? And even Paul, right, when he first, when the scales fell from his eyes, we see Paul gets up his weight over time. You know what I mean? And he really becomes Paul instead of Rabbi Shaul. See, before he was Rabbi Shaul, right? But now he becomes Paul, right? And even Paul admits that he was of the most strict sect, right? Like the denomination of the Jews. Like he was of a real radical sect. And we know that Candace Owens, she's a conservative. So when you speak about how she was like, working for the other side and some things that she was like almost like a tool against, quote, black people, like black, end quote, quote, unquote, people. You know what I'm saying? Black American people and just black people in general. And she would seem like she would always try to find an opportunity. Or maybe they put a power pack on her back, right? And she would find an opportunity. I'm not saying they did this, but this is just a kind of a breakdown, to find a way to criticize, right, black people. But honestly speaking, in some of her opinions about black people, I wholeheartedly agree, right? In some of those opinions that she had, I thought it was good that we had a dissenting voice, but I don't think that black people really were able to really even hear what she said. You know what I'm saying?
No, like I said, the way she went about it, like I say, I mean, I even, like I said, a lot of stuff I agreed with. Like I said, open rebuke. But, if you is one of we, you can't be throwing knife for the other side. Okay? Like if you got a problem with your, with your family, you don't go to the neighbor. You go to the family and you let them know the problem you got with them. But there's a loving way, that is receptive. That no matter what somebody in the family do, you come at them in the right way. You can rebuke them right in the face because you're doing it out of love.
True.
When you're doing it throwing knife, then you ain't gonna get a good reception. Don't care how much truth you're telling.
Yeah,
because you're throwing knife.
True. Yeah, because when she threw those knives, it was like it seemed as though she had the others on her side. So how it seemed is like that she was like a token, or like the other exhibit I showed you. One's called her like a coon, that she was basically cooning and buffooning, for the other side. So it was even more difficult for most, mainstream black people to receive it. And besides, one thing I like about what she stood for, like she stood for then and she still stands for now, was the whole thing about the Democratic plantation. That she used her platform to kind of expose that. And I think a lot of black people, they pushed back on it. But the most recent election and other things, we see where more black people kind of came out of the Democratic, even if they didn't support Trump, right? They basically was not supporting the Democratic, plantation agenda. And black people are beginning to think more for themselves. I think that's the thing that a lot of the so-called white Jews, and when I say white Jews, let me just be clear. When I say white Jews, I'm speaking about the ruling influences, the chief influences, whenever we discuss anything that's JEW. If we discuss anything that's JEW, right, it always has to be co-signed or verified or vetted by so-called white Jews, right? You know what I'm saying? and that is, I think, where she's running into a lot of things, because she is, in a sense, thinking for herself, presenting facts and evidence, and she was just on the other side. You know what I'm saying? Some even claim that, well, she made her money, or she made her position, she made her bones there, and now she has betrayed the so-called white JEW community. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I will dispute that, because
But it's
you
like, well,
can't betray the betrayer.
but it's like what
You
Paul
like,
says. Have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Remember what Paul says, since you mentioned she's like a Pauline, right?
yeah,
She's Pauline.
yeah, Pauline.
Candace, Pauline, Owens.
Owens.
You know what I mean? There's even one guy I kind of like. There's a guy called Christian Prince. Now, he's very much on the opposite side, like against the whole kind of Islam and the Mohammedan thing. And I think that he has a lot of true points and everything, right? But he has kind of also come out against, against her as well, because I think that there's something about not just black people, but here we have a black woman. In a sense, Candace Owens is like a Queen of Sheba. Like, look at her name, Candace. Candace. You remember the Candace, the Ethiopian link? You know what I'm saying? And even on her platform after being fired, she has even grown more. You know what I mean? Even whatever money that she might have made from those platforms, and her coming to what she calls truth, right? Finding the truth and speaking for the truth, which she says is Jesus Christ. Now, I don't know if she's come out and kind of gone into the other levels of like the humanity of Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? When I say the humanity of Jesus Christ, I'm talking about him being, one of us. You know what I'm saying? Just to put it simply like that. But I do know that she has defended one like, what you call Kyrie Irving?
Yeah, Kyrie Irving.
She was basically saying that he got a lot of beat up and backlash because he basically gave his opinion. You see what I'm saying? It's that
actually he didn't even give his opinion.
You're right. You're right.
He reposted.
You're right. You got it.
Yeah, he reposted facts.
But
all he did was reposted some facts, and by he reposting them facts there, they interviewed him. I asked him some questions, and he said what truth he knew, what he has researched, and what he has learned, and he got in trouble for answering a question, for posting truth and answering a question truthfully.
But you know why? It's something you said. I'm putting the two and two together. It's something you said right there. It's something that you said. It's because influencer. You see, like Candace Owens, it was a powerful influencer when she was. Would you say that before when she was supporting? So she went from she went from a supporter of the state of Israel, a defender, to an antagonist. Would you say?
Yes.
And she was an influencer. I mean, she has a powerful influence. In other words, when the white JEWs would look at her, right? I'm talking about the media ones and other ones that are in that influence game. You know what I mean? They look at her and say, wait, we used her, you know what I mean, to influence. And now she is kind of has cut the cord or something, you know what I mean? The bonds or whatever they were. And now she is speaking, right, independently of us.
Independently.
And she still is an influence. So I think that the reason why like you and me, we might say something and we could say the same thing Candace said, and may even say it, we could say it in a better way if we can, right? But it won't get the same pushback. Why? Because
we don't have that influence.
You see what I'm saying? We don't work for them. We wasn't on their dole and everything. And that is something I think she understands. I think she understands that, and I think we do need to pray for ones, because I think it's an amazing thing that what she's saying. I agree wholeheartedly with her defense of the Israelite and her questioning and pointing out, the evidence concerning, those who call themselves JEW. You know what I'm saying? And mainly the white Jewish community. I have to say this because I was actually going to do a video on Whoopi too. Right?
Well, let me say this about Candace too. She's very good at what she does.
Yeah,
she is very good at what she does.
She is.
So by her coming home I hope she stays because it you know, it's good for us, you know, that she's here. And I am not asking her to stop burning a fire on the family. I am just asking her not to do it for them. You know, I mean, if there's things that you feel that we need
Okay,
you know,
I get
to
what you're
bring to
saying.
head, you
I
know,
get what you're saying.
don't be scared to bring it to head, you know, like you used to do, but just don't do it for the other side, you know. Like I said, there's a way of throwing knives, and there's like a way of giving hugs. You know, hugs and knives are two different things. You know, hugs heal, knives injure. You know, so if you're coming to me with hugs, you're gonna get hugs. If you're coming to me with knives, I'm gonna throw back knives. I might even shoot. You know?
Go one up. You're one up right
Yeah, you
there.
know, but hugs don't receive hugs.
I mean, there's
You
one
know?
thing. There's one thing about Candace. Like Candace, in a sense, I'm gonna say this. She's like a kind of a queen of the South. Like you remember in the scripts, she's like in that spirit of like the queen of the South. I see some
Yeah.
aspects of it. I'm not saying it's full, right? Or this is she, but I see that kind of the queen of the South. You know, that will kind of rise up in the judgment, because that's what it says, right? There's no other sign. Christ said the only sign he would give would be the sign of Jonah, right? And then he went on and he included the Queen of Sheba, the Queen of the South. You know what I'm saying? Because she is a media queen, and she does have that influence. And like you said, like my brother said, Ross Seymour said that she is good at what she does, and maybe that professionalism and accuracy. I'm saying all this because I have a critique, right? So I want to first acknowledge, the strengths and the true points.
Yes.
First of all, I don't want to say, well, she's good, and then give you a whole bunch of things that I might disagree with, and which might be factual and you might agree with too. I'm talking about the eye as well as the audience. But I think her politics also surrounding the state of Israel. I'm not talking about the facts that she's bringing out, because we bring out those facts and we know many of those same facts as well, right? In fact, we were pushing these facts while she was pushing other, pushing what they, what I mean? The pack that was on her back, before she got that burden. She laid her burden down by the riverside. But I think that there's still some confusion. You remember when Paul was healed? When Paul he encountered the Lord, he was blinded. And then a certain one had to lay hands on him. I think Ananias, right, had to lay hands on him, for him to recover his sight. And remember at first that even Ananias didn't want to deal with him, because he was like, yo, this is the guy that was doing all this kind of wild stuff. I think that's what's happened to even our community, the people that I think that she is seeking to, she's seeking to regraft herself in. You know what I mean? She's seeking to graft herself. We're talking about the vine and the branches that get broken off, and how other branches get grafted in. But then how we who are of that tree, we are the natural branch of the natural tree. She's a natural branch that in a sense has been grafting herself back into that tree, right? And she's been showing that through, her controversial, what out in social media is the controversial levels, like especially with the European Jews, because they've in a sense targeted her. In a sense, they have targeted our sister Candace. I'm gonna call her our sister Candace Owens. You know what I mean? We ain't
got no qualms about that at all.
They've been targeting her. But I think if she picks up on any of this, that there's a little bit of a contradiction in some of her policy. I mentioned it to you before we started recording. Namely, it's like when she was on the Stephen A. Smith show, she was talking about the question about the immigration came up, like one of her controversial stances, her being a black conservative, a conservative. I would say also, honestly speaking, I'm more of a conservative as well. You know what I mean? In certain, I'll say, genuine morality points. You know what I'm saying? I'd be of a more conservative value. But she basically was supporting, like, I would expect that Candace Owens, because she says what she said about the Palestinians, she defended the Palestinians so hard, right? Like a lot of people do, but at least her defense is articulated, that she would have a different politic when it comes to the immigration situation. You see what I'm saying? I would think that you would have a different policy. That's why I say that I believe on that level, and this is one of the things that will be my main issue. And I'm so happy I'm reasoning with the eye about it, because if I did this kind of solo, I might be a little more harsher on some things, and I might not kind of like give flowers, while they can't be smelled, to credit. So if she heard the critique, it would be like, I'm just saying all the bad things. But I'm not saying all the bad things. I'm saying that this contradiction that I see, maybe others don't agree with it, because on one level, you are saying that the Palestinians, like you say, the state of Israel don't have a right because of how it was formed. And this is why I think that Ethiopia abstained from that vote, right? But then you would say that the so-called Palestinians and these others, they do have a right, and they're so persecuted, and they're such innocent people, they're so wonderful and everything. And the state of Israel, right, and those ruling it, and basically those over there that support it in any wise, right, because that region, according to what we know from recent history, right, going back a couple of hundreds of years to 1,000, roughly 2,000 years, right, was that particular region, right, where Jesus Christ was, and where the crucifixion, certain things that we know biblically occurred, right? Now, there's a question about the state of the kingdom of Israel of the Old Testament. I'm not going there. I'm saying that place over there today connects with the Messiah, Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, 2,000 years ago. And then she's proud to be an American, right? Like many others are. I'm not saying that it's wrong to be so from a citizenship, blah, 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 blah perspective. However, we know how America was formed too. America was formed in the same way, the same spirit, let's say it like that, in the same spirit as the state of Israel was formed. You see what I'm saying? Yes. So if we're pointing fingers at the state of Israel, but we're going to defend America, and we're going to say that, well, those people over there, like for example, the state of Israel Jews, they got this through the UN, the backdoors, the Rothschilds, the Balfour Declaration, a lot of other things. At first they didn't even intend to go there. They were looking to go to Africa. So think about that. If they went to Africa, Uganda, that's the Wakanda in the movie. That's a joke that the white JEWs put out, right?
Keep it real for a second. Let me keep it real for a second. I'm going to cut you for a second.
Go ahead. Don't cut me, but you could cut in. Go ahead.
Let's not forget what country we live in when we say American, and when we black people, melanated people, consider ourselves American. Don't be too proud and too patriotic to call yourself American, because you have to remember, the only time in this country when they proud to see a black man as an American is when he winning a gold medal. Then seeing people after they win the gold medal and they're there in the grocery store unrecognizable, one of these white Americans going to tell you, go back to your country. So that means they ain't even looking at you as an American. So don't be too proud to be an American. You understand? We under this flag and we live here, but don't be too proud of it, because we as black people need to really understand the gravity of who we really be, and stop geographically leaving ourselves out of our own land, because this whole earth is ours to walk and tread on. We the continent is called Africa right now. We all bought from that continent. So if you want to call yourself indigenous to this part of the world, all you want. Our life start in Africa. Life start over here. It start in Africa. And that's proven by every researcher. Everybody know this.
Can I say this? That might be another subject we have to deal with, because there is some interesting information that is being put forward that is challenging the outer Africa. I'm going to say theory, but you know what I'm saying? And yes.
I want to see that challenge.
Yeah. But a good point.
Trying to say, when we using our politics, like the point you're making with Candace Owens, is what you're trying to really get to is where her stance is on immigration. How she more with the MAGA crew with our stance on immigration. It seems like where our stance is. At the same time, having to realize that the people you defending on your side of this immigration stance sitting on capture land.
Just like the state of Israel, huh?
Yeah, sitting on capture land. So we got to be careful. That's why I say be careful of your 100% stance for for being American, because you're defending being on capture land. And the people that do capture the land, you are defending this by your position.
Proud to be an American.
Yeah, so we have to be careful with this thing, because this is capture land we living on, because we have to remember California and all them place there. Them place there was really controlled by who we call the Mexicans.
But these Mexicans?
Years ago.
These Mexicans?
We call the Mexicans. No, not these. We don't call them Mexicans, no, but I just talking about that region.
No, that's true.
Because we understand that was melanated people down there that got mixed in with the Spaniards. We understand these things, the Aztecs and the Mayans and all these things. We understand all these people was melanated people. You know, the Olmecs, all these things, you know, so we could go back hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. All you want to go back, you're going to see melanated.
True. But the history of the world, not to cut the eye, but the history of the world basically shows us like that many places, you know, may have had one group of people, like you may have been in this spot and then you leave the spot, or somebody forces you out and somebody else is in that spot. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, even the same arguments could be made, you know, with Ethiopia even. You know what I mean? But that's a whole other...
A lot of migration. A lot of migration took place.
Yeah, a lot of migration took place. But I'm saying that point is, and that's a good point you made right there, that not to be so proud to be American. But while you said that, I peeped another thing, that what some of the white JEWs, right? I think what they fear, what they see something. Like, see, we're just dealing with our reality. But sometimes the art of war is to also see how your enemy really sees you, to be honest, right? Like, you know what I mean? You know how you look at the other, like, know your enemy. And I think that part of it is that there are those of us in this awakening, and there are others who fear that we're going to take their spot. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And with her support of certain immigration policies, which in some cases I support as well. If I come from a view that, okay, America, this is we're American and this is the country that we're in, and you know we have these opportunities and blah 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 blah. You know, on that level, which one can and does defend, then I would be very much about, well, we have to have legal immigration and can't just have people just coming over any which way. Now, if we go to the view, well, back in the days, it used to belong to somebody else. But if we do that, then it's going to come back to us even in Africa. You know what I mean? The Bantus who are in South Africa, the modern South Africans, if you study the history of South Africa, they moved from Central and West and Central Africa. They moved all the way down. And if you study the history, they defeated other black tribes.
Yes.
They killed them many times. And they say that a lot of the Twi, is it the Twi? I think it's the Twi or the Twi blood, right, is found among modern Bantu South African people. You know what that means? That means that the Bantus killed off the men and, you know what I mean, and breeded the woman for that DNA to be in them. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know, in other words, the male Twi DNA is not there, but the Bantu is there and the female Twi DNA. I'm just saying that this whole idea of people taking land from people is very old.
Yeah, it's very old.
And even biblically speaking, in some cases, it's God sanctioned. I mean, if we're going to keep it a buck, some places in the Bible is God sanctioned. Unless people are going to say the God of the New Testament is not the God of the Old Testament and get into that bipolarism, right? I'm not going to go there. But there are some people who believe that the God of the New Testament is not the same God of the Old Testament, right? But that's not what we believe. What most of us will believe is that this is the same God. So if it's the same God, well, he sanctioned in some cases with his people for them to take this land, right? Or to take that land. And this is not to justify what occurred in 1948. I just want to make this clear for everybody. We're just having a kind of not just intellectual, but a reasoning on this. Because we do hear this argument, oh, look, they took the land from those people over there. Well, what about over here in America?
Well, listen, let me say something real quick. Because the position, like you say, Candace Owens took on immigration, I think you say you agree with it, right? If I'm correct.
I would agree with it if I'm coming from the position. Listen, I'm
okay, like I don't disagree, because what I'm trying to say is, we have to look at it that each country has their laws, and you can go against the country law because this is the one you want to go to. Now, what I could say about the laws in the country of how people come in the country is what needs to change. And that's what the fight been about for the last 20, 30 years or more in the political world, is how you structure the laws for immigration. And there's a set of people in this country who don't want nobody in this country who is not of a certain complexion. Now, you have a next set now who understand that economically, we need certain people in this country economically for the progress of the economy. So you have this clash between these two set of people, right? So now when Candace Owens take her position on immigration, she's taking a position based on legalities. I cannot go against her because she's taking a position based on legalities. My problem is how they're going about the dispensation of their what they call so-called justice. Because I don't agree with you taking somebody out the job, the school, off the street, and ship them to a prison in a next country. When their crime is being in your country illegally, how that warrant you going to a prison in a foreign country? I don't agree with that. No due process, nothing. So you deporting people back to their homeland. Do it the old school way. You put them on a plane and drop them off at the airport home. Let them find somebody to come pick them up from the airport.
True. But now look at this. So what's different with the state of Israel?
The state of Israel?
Remember, I'm saying what's different. Look. America was captured land.
Keep taking land. They keep taking land.
No, but America is captured land. Is America captured land or not?
Yes, that's why state I have saying this is captured land. Israel captured land from 1948.
And if we study history, there's a lot of captured land.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Around the world, it's just more ancient. You know, people forget about it. People just get used to it, right? But why hasn't people gotten used to this right here as well, right? So I'm saying that there's more to. I just find that but there's a contradiction. And I use three cases: State of Israel, Palestinians, and the so-called State of Israel, right? Then we have America and its origins, right? And then we have the immigration, the Mexican, particularly since that's right the border and everything like that, and what's going on right now as well. You know what I mean? And all three are basically, legally speaking, are equal. See, the difference is that those who are the proud American will say, no, America, and they'll try to dismiss the past or try to reinterpret the past. You know, to say that something was different. No, the white Europeans, they were left England and they left Europe, and they were Protestant Christians. They had a religious, how can you say, they believed themselves to be the Israelites. So we say that these Khazarians, right, are actually Turkish like Ottoman Turkish kind of related peoples, right? Or Ashkenazi, German, whatever ones want to say. Let's just say this is true, right? Well, the same thing with the people who captured America. They came over here on a religious zeal, believing that they're coming to a promised land, and even identifying this land as being a new Canaan. That America was called Canaan land. You remember in the Bible, the land of Canaan? Well, America was called Canaan land, and they looked at the Indians, the Native Americans, as Canaanites. And therefore, they took justification from the Bible to have war and to kill them and to drive them off. Just like you said, in Joshua and in the Bible, like, when you go in the land, that make no covenant and make no treaty with them. Is this why white man talk with forked tongue? Why he made treaties with them, right? And then he broke them? Because the Bible says not to make any treaty with them. So you can interpret that, well, we make a treaty so you believe we're in the treaty so we can get the advantage. And then when you find out that we're not in no treaty with you, but you was believing we was in the treaty. So what I'm trying to say is that aspect is not looked at. So if we focus on the state of Israel, like Candace and others are focusing, which does need to have a knowledge, people need to know, well, what is the history of what has happened? You know what I mean? Like you said, with the author, the European Jew that wrote a book, and it was kind of suppressed a little bit. They didn't do too much in, but it was suppressed because it was going against their agenda. You know what I'm saying? And so when
the truth was going against what they wanted.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. America, the only right that people had that set up America to America was they had a charter. The charter was given by England. I think her husband is English. She was English. She mentioned that in the Stephen A. interview. And then when I was watching it, I went and looked up. I said, I heard about her husband. I may have seen something. So I went and just looked it up who her husband is. And he originally was from, what country he was from? He was from England. I said, how ironic. England, the same one who was involved behind the scenes with the Balfour Declaration in the state of Israel and the Rothschilds, right? Right? You know what I'm saying? Is the same one, England is the same one who gave these Protestant Christians, right, a charter to come to somebody else's land, right? Like I come to your house, somebody give me a piece of paper, I come to your house and say, I own this. This has been given to me. You don't know the person that gave me the piece of paper.
They don't know you.
And then on top of that, I'm reading the Bible and I'm believing that, your house is Canaan. And I'm Israel. Therefore, my getting violent with you is justified, right? Is justified based on my religious belief and this piece of paper I have that told me that I have rights to everything in this house. So what I'm trying to say is that's why I believe that Candace Owens and others, right, as well, right, are in a contradiction. She may resolve this. I'm not saying she won't, because she's very bright and, you know what I mean? And it doesn't take away from what she's exposing with the so-called state of Israel. You see what I'm saying? But it makes the ground that people stand on as American very shaky. You see what I'm saying? So when the European Jews or the Jews over there say, well, we got these Arabs that claim to be Palestinian. You know how many Arab countries there are over there? You know how many? Most of these Arab countries don't want the Palestinians. See, there's a lot that we're not being told, and by her kind of just supporting the Palestinian and Hamas side, something irks me. Like they're like the immigrants that come to America to do violence. It's the same.
You know how I feel about the situation already anyway.
Yeah, but it's not to get deep on that point. I'm just saying that's one of the points. So in case she or some of her people or somebody checks it out, this may not be her cup of tea, but if she can have a good cup of tea that she likes and sip it and just get through this and just think about what we said, hopefully the points have been made somewhat clear for her to understand that her pro-American stance according to the laws. Well, why is America's law so justifiable? Is it because of influence or power? Is it because of might? You know what I'm saying? And now, where do you think the state of Israel got that from?
They say all three. It ain't either or. I think it's a collective.
So this explains to Tucker Carlson and to Candace Owens why America, the politicians, the policymakers, and those who, have been running this ever since 1948, have been supporting the state of Israel, because they both are the same. It's the same thing. You have a group of European people reading the Bible and then believing themselves to be the people they're reading about in the Bible, and then going into somebody else's land and acting it out.
Yeah, because what people don't understand is that these countries give tithes to Israel, billions of dollars every year, as the chosen people. The U.S. gives them a lot of money every year.
Oh, man, kick rocks. Okay, you're going to get me. We got to get in a whole other video. That chosen people stuff. You need to kick some rocks with that. Chosen for what? But what are you chosen for?
To get the money.
What it says?
To get the money.
What's that song about? Headed for self-destruction. You're chosen for self-destruction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're chosen for... you're chosen for what?
The thing is that they, like you said, they view themselves as the people. So if you view yourself as the people and you think you have a connection to these people, of course you're going to defend them and send them and give them money and this and support them in any way you can, because you feel a connection with these people who you all to yourself come to the conclusion that you all are such and such people.
See, that's what she and Tucker don't recognize, even though they are pushing their Christian belief or faith and are coming out as truthers. They don't recognize that behind the facade of America is the same injustice that they are decrying in the state of Israel. You know what I mean? Because you have somebody who's in a foreign country, like England. Remember, England is the key factor in both of them, because England is the one that gave the Balfour Declaration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where there was some letter somebody wrote that the English authorities promised to give it to, Jews. And they said, oh, look, because before that, they were looking for a promised land in Africa and South America. Now, think about that for a moment. Did Africa...
Uganda, one of the places there, I think it was, isn't it?
Did Africa dodge a bullet? Yeah, it was Uganda. That's where the Black Panther movie Wakanda come from. It's a joke. It's like an inside JEW joke. Really, people don't really get it, because the first place they want to go to was Uganda. But Uganda and Wakanda is the same thing, but said in two different ways. Wakanda, right? You know what I mean? And Uganda. You know what I mean? It's basically the same place and everything. They was going to go there, but so think about this for a moment. Suppose they went into Africa and they did the similar thing. In Africa, you get where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
So they went to Uganda. That's right by Ethiopia. That means there might have been some. Who knows what would have happened, right? But when the Balfour Declaration came along, and they recognized they could get Palestine, and they recognized, well, Palestine has some biblical history connection, right? Or you know what I mean? They went there, and the Americans, they came over here because England gave them a charter. I kid you not. Like a charter. Like you get a charter. It gave them a charter. Gave them a piece of paper to a country that they never been to. That they never ruled over. You know what I mean? England never ruled over America, but then they sent people. How did the European Jews get to the state of Israel? By boats. How did they get to America? By boats.
Yep.
So you see how England, you know what I mean, is at the center of both of this? But notice, in all this stuff, it's just the state of Israel. It's America, state of Israel. But in England, we don't hear nothing about England. We don't hear nothing about Mama England. You see what I'm saying?
Mama sit back and let the children play.
That's Babylon. You see, Babylon, they let the daughter of Babylon take the heat. They let America take the heat for it all. That's why I think if Condoleezza Rice, what am I saying? What happened to Condoleezza Rice? Anyway, if Candace Owens really is able to see this point, I wonder how this would inform, right, what truth she would say to this particular point. You know what I mean? Because I think her and Tucker and some others who are saying we should not be supporting the state of Israel because this is a human rights violation, this is a travesty, this is an injustice, right? Isn't that the same thing that the Native Americans had said nearly 400 years ago? More than 400 years ago?
Yeah, worse.
You know what I'm saying? But we don't talk about it because what they say is past. It's the past. It's already done, right? So we are basically, it's like hypocrisy in a sense, right? And the reason why a lot of white Christians support the state of Israel is because they understand the origin of the United States of America. State of Israel, United States of America. The state of Israel is a part of the United States of America through England, right?
And people remember we saying state of Israel, not the nation of Israel.
And not the kingdom, definitely not the kingdom, because they don't have no king. They rejected the king.
There's a nation of Israel and there's a state of Israel, which is two different things.
You know what I'm saying? So I do support individuals, but we don't support the government, because the government is still part of that influencer, that power group that has that influence, because they have that influence because when it comes down to it, they are all the same people, and they have the same strategy. They use the same MO, right? It's just that nobody want to talk about the fact that America has captured land too. Can you imagine if everybody in America had to go back to their own fig tree?
So the place will be empty?
No, but can you imagine how many people would be going to different places in the world?
That's what I said. The place will be empty.
But what about the place that all these people go to? Like imagine just dropping off all the people back up in Europe. You know what I'm saying? Or dropping them back up in Africa or wherever. You know, the various different people groups come through. But anyway, Candace Owens, give thanks, man, on this right here. Of course, there's probably more to say, but I definitely want to check out that documentary. I keep saying documentary, but that video. You know what I mean? You know what she's talking. Yeah. I want to see what she's saying on it, and so forth and so on.
If people want to know the title of it, it says Candace Owens will not support 1948 Israel. Defends Kyrie Irving. That's the title of the...
Is it on her own platform or someone else's platform? I was wondering. Does it come from her platform?
No, they're on something called... I don't know if she have it on her platform or not, but they're on something called We Woke Now.
Oh, okay, yeah, the We Woke Now folk. Yeah, We Woke Now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I think the popular Jews are worried about. You know what I'm saying? Because since we are speaking about Israelite, right? You know what I'm saying? And it's that we're gonna take this spot. I think they recognize it's almost like you remember the prophecy in Esdras where Esau is the end and Jacob is the beginning? And it says the ages will pass like Jacob's hand on Esau's foot. You know what I mean? You know, like how when the twins were born, Esau came out first and Jacob was holding on his foot.
Holding on his heel, yeah.
Yeah, his heel. And that's where we're at right here. When we're speaking about Israel, we are Israel, right? You know, we so-called once lost, now found black and brown people. The other people say you're just trying to grab at the heel, right? You know what I mean? Of these ones. But with that, as it goes on, it means that like John the Baptist said, like he must get greater, and I must get lesser. That's what they are coming from. When you really look at it, that's why I wonder, like, why are they so hot against somebody like her? If they just let her speak and went about their business, it would not really have as much influence as it does by them attacking her. You know what I mean? And making the rest of us say, well, what did she say? What's going on?
This is a thing too that man gotta pay attention to, right? that we don't do what the enemy does. Because we don't have the same mindset as the enemy. Our mindset is more of a let we get along type of thing and let we see what we could do together. That's that's more of our mindset. If we get left alone, that would be our mindset. Their mindset is not that. Their mindset is they will come and they will find the best and the brightest of your people them, and they'll try to influence them to their position, to use them for their benefit, which is not for your benefit. So now your best and brightest is out there working for the enemy against you. A lot of times, not intentionally, they've been influenced to a position where they think that they're elevating in life and they're achieving, but not realizing that you're being used as a puppet against your own people. So when they realize this now, hopefully enough of them do, when they realize this now and then they come home, they're a better weapon for us now because they understood
the other side. Yeah.
So I welcome her home. I hope that she stick to it and burn that fire on this side for we.
Amen. And I hope that also she I agree likewise, and that she considered the point, that I have tried to make just about that contradiction there, right? So if one thing is wrong, then the other one is wrong too. You see what I'm saying? Because it's based on the same wrong. and wrong make wrong. But the last little note right here I like to give on this is a little quote I just put on the screen, and that's Matthew 12:42, where it says, "The Queen of the South shall rise up in the judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it, for she came from the uttermost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and behold, a greater than Solomon is here." Remember His Imperial Majesty, the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, Kedamawi Haile Selassie, Negus Neges Ethiopia, Siyum Xavier, the King of Kings of Ethiopia, the elect of God, his government, the imperial government, the government of the King of Kings, of the line of the tribe of Judah, not the tribe of Jews or of Judaism, but of the tribe of the people, Judah, abstained. Right? Abstained on that vote. Did not vote no, did not vote yes, but the abstention. Sometimes we need to just abstain. Yes, I. Any final thoughts, or we seal up? Yeah.
We could seal up,
Amen.
And once again, we'd like to give thanks to those who listen and share, just vibes in, like I said, we just vibes in, if one don't agree with certain things, we're not here to make people agree or believe what we say, it's just vibes in, put the things out there in the air for ones and ones to have their own thoughts and their own reasonings, to see what you come up with and how you see these different things, you might see the same thing that we see, you might not, but this is all in the, the thing of iron sharpening iron, Sometimes you learn from disagreeing with other people's point of views and stuff. You learn from that same way, So, is we trying to sharpen iron, So just look at it that way, it's love, So.
Amen.
Bless to everyone, Once again,
Blessedness and grace.
Everyone in the name of His Majesty, Exhibit, Kramawi, Haile, Selassie, I salute you when I say
Rastafari. Yes, I. Bashem Yeshua HaMashiach. Yes, I. Eyes is I. Blessedness and grace. Oh.